Hello everyone, welcome back to the Football Story. Today I'm joined by a very special guest, Lewis Asimov from Beyond the Cop. How are you today, Lewis?
Mate, I'm buzzing. I'm so excited to be on. Thank you very much for having me. But I'm bored. I want pre-season. I want football back, man. Like good football, not the Club World Cup.
Yeah, to be honest, we have a lot to talk about today. Obviously, Marc Guehi and stuff in the links, but I agree. I haven't been able to get into Club World Cup for whatever reason. I'll probably watch Madrid and Juventus tonight. Probably more of a hate watch than anything else. But yeah, I think with Liverpool not in the Club World Cup, there's obviously not that added incentive for us to watch it. But it's been a kind of a mixed bag, I would say. But yeah, we've got a lot to chat about.
Oh, 100%. I mean, certain teams getting thrashed. That'll be good to go over in a bit, definitely.
Yeah. But yeah, I suppose we probably start with the news from Liverpool's side. And if you're new to the channel or if you're just joining in, we have a lot to talk about today. So make sure to drop a like, subscribe. You're all very welcome. I see there's a few people coming in. We're doing good. We are doing good. But we'll start with the big news coming out today. And that came from Dave O'Cop, I think it was. And there was some other journalists reporting as well that Marc Guehi has agreed personal terms at Liverpool. Now, obviously, with Kwanzaa going out, it's obviously a huge move that Liverpool could be going out and getting one of the probably England's best centre back and someone who's only about to turn 25. A lot of potential. There's obviously talks with Konate, potentially even from Madrid next year for free. So getting someone in to be able to understand what Liverpool need is be huge. But yeah, what are you thinking for the Guehi talks?
I think if you're in the market right now for a centre-back who's ready to come into this team straight away, I think Marc Guehi is a shrewd bit of business. Not only like, I know there are reports of him being around £40 million, which again, I think that's a bargain price, but you're talking about a leader who fits that quota of the captain's quota that we seem to have at the minute. You're signing someone who's an FA Cup winner with Crystal Palace, hasn't even reached his peak yet, fits into an England team surrounded by top quality players and does not look out of place at all. There's question marks to be had over his passing ability, maybe in the air. But if you're looking for a centre-back who can come into this team straight away, you're not going to find much better than Marc Guehi. In certain metrics, he's actually done better than Dean Huijsen did last season. He's a top quality player who I think a lot of people have slept on. And if we're able to get him for anything less than 40 million or around that 40 million mark, I will have no complaints as a Liverpool fan in thinking that we've signed someone who is for the now and for the future of Liverpool Football Club. He's a top tier centre-back in England. There are weaknesses which we can go over, but I think the pros of this signing far outweigh the cons of signing Marc Guehi, in all honesty.
Yeah, no, 100% agree. And yeah, Tom, how are you, brother? I hope you're well. But as he said, you can't do better than Guehi in the current market for the role we need. And yeah, I agree with you, Lewis. I think with Guehi as well, like the way Liverpool, obviously, when they go into the transfer market, they want to get as much value for money. We've seen that with, say, the kind of not drawn out negotiations, but like considering when they started talking, Liverpool usually get deals done pretty quickly. And the fact that there was a little bit of slowdown. I think Kirk has come out and said in his interview that there was actually talk since May. So Liverpool had it in motion for a good while, and they obviously wanted to get the best deal possible. They did it with Wirtz getting him for 100 million. And I just think the way Guehi is, the way he plays football, I think there's a lot to be said about players coming into, say, teams like Liverpool and playing with better players and then them elevating even further. I think that we've seen that a lot with players that come to Liverpool where they do kind of take themselves to the next level. And I think Guehi is someone that can do that. I think the value that you're getting him for as well, obviously, has a year left in his contract, so Crystal Palace won't want to sell him won't want to lose him, say, next season. And I think that's the big thing. Liverpool want to maybe get him for, say, that 30-40 million mark, and Crystal Palace had to sell him in the end. So yeah, I think overall I don't even think was maybe talks about Murillo, someone that would come in, but I think the price tag is maybe something that's putting Liverpool off a little bit.
I think it's price tag, and I think as well, Murillo is, and this isn't to knock him, he's a top quality player from what we've seen from him at Forest, but he strikes me very much as he prefers to be on the edge of the 6-yard box. He just wants to head the ball away. He's a lump that you stick in the middle of the pitch who's just going to knock people over, mess people up, and get rid of the ball, no nonsense. His passing metrics are pretty poor. Now, if you're Liverpool, based on what we've seen last season, based on what we know Slot's style of play is, he wants people who are comfortable on the ball. He wants players who are going to be capable of maintaining possession, building up from the back. Murillo is not that player. Marc Guehi is definitely that player. I think in terms of statistics, he's got more carries out from the back than Van Dijk, Konate and Dean Huijsen. He's also got the same aerial duels won as Huijsen in 68. There's a lot more positivity around the way that Marc Guehi plays that will suit Liverpool more so than Murillo, who, if you go back to Brendan Rodgers' era, maybe he'd be an ideal signing in your sort of your Martin Skirtle kind of bracket, someone who's just the ball's going to come into him, he's going to head it so hard the ball changes shape. We don't need that nowadays. We want composure at the back. We want people who can pick up the ball and play with it. Guehi, while he's not perfect in that area of the pitch, he's a much more suitable option than Murillo, in my opinion, and you're going to spend a lot less money. Like I said, he's a captain. He's already captain of Crystal Palace. He's already an FA Cup winner. He's the perfect profile. This is Liverpool signing someone who fits the exact mold of what we've been doing for the past few years. And this is someone who's only going to get better. Like you said before, there are few player profiles that fit Liverpool better at the moment than a Marc Guehi, and Murillo for me just doesn't quite fit that mold as a player.
Yeah, definitely. I think the one thing you would say with Guehi as well, when he went to play for England, and there was obviously a lot of concerns about him going in, kind of making his debut in the Euros there last year. But he went in and he was probably one of their best players. You know what I mean? And I think that's
Faultless.
the kind of level that you want coming into the Liverpool team. I think you're probably now maybe looking to a Van Dijk replacement, because obviously he's getting a little bit further on. I know he has 2 years left on his deal, but you don't want to be signing someone when he's kind of almost on his last legs. You want someone coming in, starting to take over from him. The Konate situation is something that worries me. It does. I think it's similar to probably in the same position with like Crystal Palace, where you have a player that's of a really good high standard. He's obviously a French international, but with Real Madrid kind of sitting around saying, yeah, we'll take on a free next year. I'm kind of the opinion that if we can sell him now, I would. I know it obviously weakens us a little bit, but I think just losing him on a free next season would be worrying for me. And I think that's why we probably need the quality of Guehi to come in.
Like if I asked you, with the benefit of hindsight, I know we ended up getting 10 million for Trent anyway, given everything that went on, because why not? But if I said to you, go back to that January transfer window when there were bids coming in for Trent from Madrid of not a lot of money, but a small amount. Would you have taken that money now, looking back, knowing everything that you know?
So, back in the January transfer window, knowing everything I know now that we were going to obviously win the league at such a easy level, I would have taken it. But the issue, say in January, is that we didn't know. So do you know what I mean? So I wouldn't have taken the 20 million for Trent, and if it had been 25, 30 million, because the money from winning the Premier League and potentially going further in the Champions League at that point was too high. I think even up until Trent went off injured against PSG, I thought we were he was creating a lot of chances. He was doing a lot of damage on that right hand side. And I think if he had stayed on, we could have potentially even went through, and then you're knocking out the eventual team that won it.
Yeah.
So I probably wouldn't have taken it. But with the Konate situation, I think you could get 70 million from him, 60, 70 million. I think PSG, and if PSG were to say come in with an offer, or if Real Madrid, I don't think Real Madrid will spend that money now if they can get him on a free. And I'd say they probably maybe said something to him in the background, similar to what they did with Trent, saying, if you sign a contract, we're not going to come in for you next year. So that's the issue. But yeah, it's a tough decision. I do think obviously Konate is probably one of the best centre backs in the league, and I think losing him would be a big miss. But yeah, I don't know. We'll do a few we'll do a few comments from the community just to see how everyone is. Here we go soon. Hopefully, for Marc Guehi. Yeah, I think it is kind of moving in the right direction. I think Liverpool have said that it might take a little bit of time from what I've seen so far. But hopefully we can get a bit of movement soon. Do you think we are going to go to get Isak? Yeah, we're going to talk about that shortly, very, very shortly. Konate is not good. What? Nah, no chance.
Oh, no.
Follow me, there you. Yeah, Konate is a baller, man. He's the best centre-back partnership in the league.
I'd argue until that Real Madrid injury, I think he was our best centre-back last season.
Who, Konate?
Konate. I think until he got that knock against Madrid when he came back and he slowed down a bit, I think up until that point he was our best centre-back. Like, bar none, I think, up until then.
Yeah, no, I think it's just, obviously, when you think about it as well, with Trent and the way he kind of plays, Konate almost sort of covers for like a right back and a centre back, and he has that pace. He's very aggressive in the tackle. Sometimes maybe a bit too aggressive, and he doesn't actually like read the game. He's decent on the ball. I think I think Guehi was probably a little bit better in terms of like moving the ball along, but yeah, I think he keeping him, like, my preference would be to sign him in a new contract. You know what I mean? But it's just up to him whether he wants to sign it. He doesn't seem happy with the offer at the minute that Liverpool are giving him. But like Liverpool players, I think it was 200k they're saying. I'd probably say he's worth that in today's market with like the way some players, like I think Van Dijk is on 350 now, and I think Konate is worth half that at least.
If he can keep fit, definitely. Like, he gets this bad rap of he's very injury prone, but he missed the exact same amount of games last season as he did the season before and missed 1 day more, I think it was. And last season's injury was only because he got absolutely mugged in the last second by a Real Madrid. I can't remember the Real Madrid player, the young lad. Like, other than that, yeah, that's the one, perfect. And like, other than that, he had like the occasional niggle, but he was fit for every game, and I think he gets a bad rap for that. I think 200k for a centre-back of that quality who's being linked with Madrid and PSG, it's fair money in all honesty.
Yeah. I seen, so XAZ said, if we get an offer like 60 million, we should accept, and if he wants to leave. Yeah, I think 60 million and if he wants to leave, I think that's probably the best for both options. But yeah, as I said, I want to cover him. VVD covers for all of them. I think, to be honest, I think Van Dijk, the level that he's at, 100%, I think he makes any team better. But I think there's a lot of quality in the other players. I think sometimes just because they have Van Dijk beside them doesn't mean that you should like overlook them or whatever. But I think just because you have, like, Van Dijk is the best centre back in the world. Do you know what I mean? So he's gonna make players around him better, but the others have quality.
Yeah, there's always going to be, if you go through any Liverpool team, there's always 1 or 2 top quality players who I think make everyone around them look better. Like, in all honesty, if you go back to Raheem Sterling in 2013-14, he had a good season, don't get me wrong, but it wasn't like, I don't know how to put it, because Suarez set the level so high, because he was doing what he was doing.
Yeah.
It made everyone else around him look fairly, like, everyone looked good, but that Sterling that season that Sterling had was incredible. That season that Daniel Sturridge had was top quality, like a 20-plus goal season in the Premier League, despite missing, I think it was 12 matches that season.
Yeah.
That gets overlooked because of how good Suarez is. Van Dijk being the level that he is should not deter from the fact that the likes of Konate, while not to his level, and they are being propped up by him ever so slightly, are still top-tier defenders. Like, Konate, if he's being linked to PSG, who have just won the Champions League and are probably going to win the Club World Cup, and he's getting linked with getting into their team straight away, you know that he's a top-tier player.
Yeah, 100%. But speaking of top-tier players, Liverpool on the mark for another one in Alexander Isak. And it seems like a transfer that's been rumbling on. Obviously, with Newcastle, the position that they're in, they're obviously getting back in the Champions League. They have a little bit less financial constraints on them than they have had maybe in previous seasons. But yeah, I think it seems to be that there is an interest from Isak from like some of the reports. Liverpool are obviously being reported that they are monitoring him, Ekitike, and Victor Osimhen. I think Isak, out of all those options, is definitely the best, but he's probably going to be the most expensive. And obviously with our spending this summer, it's something you obviously have to take into account. But yeah, what are your thoughts on Isak so far? It seems like it's something that just keep going.
Look, I think this is going to be... This story will get you clicks. It will get news journalists. It's their payday, this one, essentially. So everyone is going to be reporting on every little thing to do with Alexander Isak. I think we'd be foolish as a club not to be looking at him. And every year, every summer, we're looking at the big players. We're looking at the Tchouaménis. We're looking at the Jude Bellinghams. You go back and we were looking at Cristiano Ronaldo at one point. Like, there's throughout the history of this club, we're always linked to the big players because we're a big club. We're the biggest club in England. It's natural this is going to happen. Do I think we'll get Alexander Isak? I think it would take something huge to make the deal come through. Because on one hand, yeah, he might want to join us, but Newcastle aren't in a position where they need to sell. They've just got Champions League football. They're very compliant with the rules and regulations of PSR at the moment. If they want to sell him, he's on a long-term contract. They can say, right, sign 150 million. Are you going to get a club that's going to spend 150 million on one individual striker? Probably not, if we're being completely honest. He's top quality. He's definitely worth a lot of money. But I just don't think Liverpool, given the way that we've operated a lot in the past, and I know we've just signed Wirtz and it kind of blows it a bit out of the water, but I can't see us going out and saying, right, here's 100 million on one player, here's 150 on another. When Liverpool will probably look at an Ekitike and think, right, this is someone for half the price. He could develop into something top tier, and if he doesn't, we'll just move on and go for someone else. It's something that I would love to happen, but like, are you thinking? Would you say he's worth 150 million pound in today's market as a striker for Liverpool? Given he's done well at Newcastle, but he's done well at Newcastle. Like, what are you thinking?
Yeah, I listen. I think strikers right now, like you look at the kind of issues with Gyökeres, Sesko. That's like who Arsenal are kind of more or less going for right now. I just think with Isak, the other one that I would look at maybe is Julian Alvarez, but it doesn't seem like he's on the market, and I think Atletico Madrid's president has said that. So I think Isak, in terms of Premier League proven, similar to what you were saying about Konate, his injury record, for people start to bring up more and more, but like he's played 34 games in the league last year and 31 the year before. He had a big injury the season before that, but like one big injury in 3 seasons. Do you know what I mean? And he's consistently scored I think it was 19 goals 2 seasons ago, and then 24 last year, 23. So you're getting someone that's going to come into a team and elevate them. Like, I think a lot of Liverpool fans would agree that there's definitely that position is someone's to go and make their own for like the next 3, 4, 5 years. And I think Isak is that player that can come in and do that. Like, Salah is at the stage now where I think he'll still probably get 30 to 40 goal contributions next year, but will he get that the year after that, or will that kind of slow down a little bit more? And you're going to want someone to be able to come in and supplement that, because if he drops a little bit, then the chase and pack get a little bit better, and then suddenly you're very close together again. Do you know what I mean? So I think with Wirtz in now the mix, you've Kirkes and Frimpong to kind of add a little bit of more energy in terms of when we're going forward from either side. But I just think having Isak in the middle, the mentality wise for all the other teams, I just think that kind of puts them at almost like a minus 10 point deficit from the get-go, because they'll just be like, with him in the team, Salah on one side, then you have Gakpo and Diaz on the other. I just think people will be just a little bit too worried.
Yeah. No, look, it'd be I describe Florian Wirtz as a statement signing, a sort of, we slapped it on the table and said to the rest of Europe, look, right, this is who we are this season. We're not to be messed with. I think if we signed Alexander Isak, it's pretty much done and dusted next year. And there's no guarantee he's going to come in and be an immediate success. Like, the prime example of someone with that reputation and that allure about them who went to another Premier League team and didn't succeed was Fernando Torres. That's the benchmark for, I think, the epitome of rising the highest and falling the lowest. Isak could very well do that, but I just think he's proven himself. He's gone to a Newcastle team, won them their first silverware in years, literal decades, won them a major piece of silverware, ranks in the top. He's like he's the top 2 Newcastle strikers of the Premier League era. Obviously, Alan Shearer number 1 and then Isak number 2. But what he's achieved at that club, there's such a high track record for him. There's a reason Arsenal wanted to sign him from Real Sociedad and nearly did. There's a reason why PSG were being linked from not too long ago. There's a reason why United were being linked from, and Chelsea. He's of that ilk, and he's someone who people look at him because of his build and think he's not that good on the ball. He's just a finisher. In terms of his passing metrics, he's right up there with the best. And you want someone who can finish as well as be a complementary player to other players around him, like your Salahs, like your Gakpos. There are a few better than Alexander Isak at the moment. Julian Alvarez was a perfect player he was my number 1 pick. But given the fact that their ownership and president said he'll basically die with the club, that's out the water. Isak is should be the number 1 priority. I can't see us doing it, and I think it's because I'm so conditioned to seeing how we've operated in the past that I just can't see us breaking our own record twice in one season, smashing the British transfer record twice in one season. But it could happen. I could be completely wrong. I'm happy to be wrong in this instance.
Yeah, I think like if you think about like Liverpool broke their transfer record for fullbacks twice this season. I mean, spent 35 million on Frimpong and then 40 million on Kirkes. Obviously going out and signing their most expensive player in their history in Wirtz. I think it probably is a condition that like we all think of, but you think of a few seasons ago, Liverpool were happy enough to spend 110 million odd on Caicedo. They wanted to pull him away from Chelsea. They were happy enough to up their bid a little bit for Lavia as well. I think if Liverpool really want to go and get them, and the fact that they haven't, they feel like, I think they're looking at the other teams like Arsenal and Man City and seeing like a little bit of weakness in them. Like you think of when Liverpool were kind of at their pump in that kind of 2018 to 2020 period, and they were obviously going toe to toe with Man City. Once Klopp had his kind of team, they didn't really push on with that. And listen, it's hard to kind of, I think it would maybe very hard to elevate that team in certain positions, like. But maybe you could say midfielders in certain areas, like maybe get like someone off the bench. But like they had such a unique way of playing in terms of the industry of the midfield, and then there's the powerhouses up front in terms of Mane, Firmino, and Salah. So I think now it's just they're looking at those teams and they're saying, you know what, yous are suffering a little bit. We're going to talk about Man City a little bit later on, but I think. They're not the same. There's areas there that Liverpool can capitalise on. I think like you could, if you go out and sign Isak, it could be like win a league next year, win a league the year after that, and then you're talking about like a three-peat. Do you know what I mean? So I just think that's the difference right now in terms of why maybe they're spending a little bit more money. So I'd say it's one to monitor, but with some of the other transfers that you're talking about there, so you were saying about Ekitike. I know there was at the start window 100 million was kind of being talked about with his transfer, but I think it's come down a little bit now. Oshiman is another one, but his wages, like if Saudi Arabia rejected his wages, then you're in trouble.
Says a lot.
Yeah, but what are you thinking then in terms of the two of them?
I mean, look, Ekitike is a talented player. No one's going to dispute that. The question you've got is, are we in a situation right now where we can be waiting 2, potentially 3 years for him to hit his stride and finally fit into the team? I think he'll do better than people assume he would. I think people have this notion that he's going to come in and he's going to have like, not to criticise him too much, but like a Darwin Nunez-esque couple seasons where he can't quite adapt, he can't quite fit the system. I think he'll come in and do better than people think, but he is going to be a project. And right now, we're not in the market for projects. Liverpool right now coming off the back of number 20, going for number 7, number 21, number 11, etc., etc. We need to be ready to sign players who are for now, people who are ready to come into this team and make an immediate difference. So on Ekitike, far from a bad player, and if that's your backup option, like we're in a really good position. This isn't like when we wanted Alexis Sanchez and got Ricky Lambert, none of that. In terms of Osman, I completely agree. I think I've heard that he wants 250k flat with like, that's not bonuses, that's not extra incentives on top, add-ons. That's a huge amount of money. That's 50k more than what Wirtz is going to be on. And there's attitude problems. Obviously, he did that Instagram live thing where he was critiquing his national team manager not too long ago, and ex-legends had to come out and make statements saying like he shouldn't play for them again, he shouldn't be involved. And the manager ended up getting sacked. I can't remember the name for the life of me at the moment, but there is an attitude problem there. And Arne Slot isn't someone who takes fools. We've seen that this season. We saw him come out and lambast Trent saying, look, he doesn't train well. We saw him hook Kwanzaa off at half-time when he was doing poor against Ipswich. If you bring in an Osman, I think the first sign of him going, nah, I can't be arsed with this, he's off. And are we going to be in a position to get rid of someone who's on high astronomical wages, who we've had to bring in for a top fee? The club aren't going to say, right, off you go. There's going to be conflict there, and I don't think the club want that. So if you were to pull my leg and say, right, Ekitike or Osman, I think I'd be leaning more towards an Ekitike. I'm happier to have someone who's a bit of a long-term project, more so than someone who may come in for the now and do really well, but could cause you major issues down the line. No guarantee he will, but I'm not prepared to take the gamble on it, to be completely honest.
Yeah, I'd probably be the same. I think Yeah, I'd probably go Isak, Ekatike, Osimhen, and I think Ekatike, yeah, he's a project. Someone that you're probably going to have to mold and develop and kind of get the most out of him. But I think coming into this Liverpool team now, there's a lot of pressure on like a player that will be going into that number 9 position, and I don't think that's something that you want. If you were signing Ekatike, you'd be signing him to come in and like supplement, say, a striker that you already had. And I think that would be kind of one things I would maybe push against it, because I think even with Nunes, you brought him in for say I think it was 65 million at the time, and then you had the add-ons. But like he comes in at 22, and he's 25 now, and I think he was brought in to be kind of the takeover from Firmino, and he hasn't really been able to live up to that pressure. And I think that does weigh heavily on some players. So I think you probably want to sign someone with experience, and I think Isak is the right one. But yeah, we have a few comments here. So you cannot buy Wirtz, then not buy. Cannot buy Wirtz, then not buy Isak. If you buy best 10 in the world and you go buy the best striker in the league to complement Wirtz, if they don't do it, FSG have not changed. Isak gets his trophy. He's worth the money. Well, I wouldn't say like. I think I don't know about you. What you think about FSG? I think they get a very bad rap. Like my kind of early days of watching Liverpool were kind of around 2005. Then we had like Hicks and Gillette. Then it comes up to like we need to go into administration. FSG come in, buy us for 300 million, and we went on a journey. And I think they've made a lot of really good decisions. Sometimes I understand the transfer market, maybe they haven't flashed their cash. And I think when you're competing with City, it might be a little bit frustrating because you see how much they spend and the trophies that they maybe win or pip us to. But like the reason we're in this position now is because of FSG. And I know there's some decisions they've made around, like, say, ticket sales. And some of the times they were maybe not the most responsive. But I think on a whole, they've been a good for the club.
No, I'm in complete agreement, and I've always been Switzerland in this situation. I've always said I'm not FSG in, I'm not FSG out. I'm just very, I just want to see Liverpool. But I will give them credit for the fact that we're in this position now. We're not close to breach. We're in a position right now where we can say, yeah, we can sign Vert. Yeah, we can sign Isak. Yeah, we can sign Frimpong and Kerkez and Pexi and Freddie Woodman and whatever you make of that. And not be close to breaking any sort of financial rules. Whereas you look at City, 115 charges. Chelsea spent £2 billion just during this new ownership alone, and they're competing for top 4, not for the Premier League. There's United, who were one of the most historically significant clubs, not just in England, but in the world, who are finishing 16th or 15th. We are in a position of strength because we've budgeted our money well. We've not gone out and spent big every summer. And I'd love to see us do it every summer. I'd love to see us go out and sign the biggest names for the biggest prices and staple ourselves on Europe. You can't do it. You can't justifiably do it because you end up in a position similar to those teams. If us taking a gap year last year, saving up our pocket money, rather than going out and buying a Freddo means I can go out and buy a Toblerone from the shop, that's fine. We signed Kerkez and Mamadashvili, and now we've saved it, and now we're going out and we're really slapping it after just winning the Premier League. I'm fine doing that, but I can understand the criticism as well from the other perspective of things, but I've got no major complaints. The Super League and the ticket prices, probably the only two things that I look at and think, that's really, really awful, but no major complaints.
Yeah, I think saving the money last season, you could have bought a Toblerone from the airport, one of the big ones for 20% money this
one
year.
of the big 7 kilogram ones.
Yeah, but we have there's about 40-50 people in on YouTube. I think we have over 2,000 or 3,000 on Anti Liverpool. So if you're watching, make sure to drop a like, subscribe to the channels Beyond the Cop as well over on YouTube and on Twitter, Instagram as well. So make sure to give them a follow. But yeah, moving on to some of Liverpool's challengers for next year. Obviously, we'll maybe come on to maybe Arsenal in a second, but Man City getting knocked out of the Club World Cup yesterday, a big surprise. Now, I think Al Hilal, if you actually look at their team, they have a lot of good quality in their team. I think they had 6 from Premier, or not Premier League, but like from Europe that have obviously been brought over. But what did you make of the match? I doubt you stayed up till 2 o'clock watching it, but what did you make of it?
No, look, I've gone back, and I'm not going to lie, I could care less what City do. get in the bin, stay there, shut the lid. But I think there's more to this than just Rodri being injured. I think if your system is that reliant on one player being fit, there's major problems behind the scenes. And I do think Pep is starting to crumble that little bit. Look, I'm not prepared to say it's because of his personal life. I won't delve into that. But I do think that he is starting to reach that point that Klopp did, where maybe he is starting to feel run down. They played an Al Hilal team who, like people say, they're not the highest quality. They've got good players in there. They've got decent players with proven Premier League and European history. But it's a team that City, if you go back 2 years, they absolutely rinsed them with the second team. Now you've got Phil Foden starting. You've got Bernardo Silva playing against them. You're playing some of your biggest players in that team, like going through like Ederson, Gvardiol, Nunez, Gundogan, Savio, Bernardo Silva, Doku, Haaland, and you're struggling against them. This isn't something that's just individual players. This is the whole system. Something's broken behind the scenes at City, and I don't know if it's the Chargers, I don't know if it's Pep's personal life, I don't know what it is. What do you think, if you were to sort of pinpoint it on one thing for City, is causing the issue?
See, I think I did a video, that's what I was saying to you before with the stream, I did a short on it there, and I think they have a lot of issues. I wouldn't say it's just one thing. Like, if I go through their team, I look at Ederson, I think he's declined over the last 18 months. I think John Stones, Ruben Diaz, and Akanji, they pick up a lot of injuries, maybe individually, so you're kind of having to rotate. Now, I think bringing in Aït-Nouri, Gvardiol maybe be moving to centre-back, but Gvardiol was probably one of their best attacking options and one of the best left-backs in the league last year. Aït-Nouri, I think, is good going forward. He's a good dribbler, but defensively, I think you could still get at him. So, and then the Matheus Nunes thing is just like the fact that they let Kyle Walker, who's been one of the best right backs in the league, go, and they put a right winger or centre attacking midfielder at right back, and they just said, you know what, we're just going to keep him there. We'll go out and spend 400 million and not at just the right back position. It's crazy. It does seem crazy to me, and it's one of those kind of those crazy decisions that Pep sometimes seems to take. To just try and find like a different way out, and sometimes it's worked. You've seen it like when he's had Cancelo maybe moving from left back, but I just think with that you need a really solid defensive base, which I don't think they have at the minute. And then you obviously look at their midfield options. Reinders is like being expected to come in and be a revolution in terms of like a new engine within that team, but like around. When you've had like Rodri, we don't know what way he's going to come back. And I think he obviously picked up another injury, I think, last night in the Club World Cup. So they'll have to adjust with that. But I just think Bernardo Silva, Gundogan, they lost KDB. The three of them, their legs are gone last year. Foden and Turkey seem like they're going to be more luxury players than anything else. And then I look at Savinho and Doku, I think are talent. But if you look at the levels of, say, Mahrez and Sterling when they were at their pomp, like there's just such a big gulf. Now, in saying that, I still think they have the quality to finish in the top four. I feel like similar to last season, they'll go through a patch where teams will just like kind of figure them out a little bit. Like even now when I look against City, what teams do is they let them come onto them, they go long, and then they have runners. And what they can't do is they can't keep up with like that pace. And I think teams will just figure them out a little bit. But listen, it's Pep Guardiola. He's never went 2 seasons without winning the league consecutively. So like he could do something amazing. Rodri could come back, be a revolution, and win like another bleeding Ballon d'Or, and then we'll be all sitting here with 400 million down the drain from Liverpool side and be wondering where we went wrong. But I think they have a lot to change. And I think with Guardiola, when he first came in, he's obviously like, I want to change this team. I'm going to revolutionize the league. And similar to what you were saying about with Klopp, I think he's at that stage now where like he's put so much effort in and he's just tired, I'd say. Do you know what I mean? It'll take a lot out of you being a manager. I don't think they're going to be in and amongst it like come the like kind of run in. But we'll see as it goes. But yeah, if you're just joining, lads, come on, hit the likes. We got to try and get up to about 50. I think we're on about 30 at the minute. But we'll try to get up to 50 before the end of the stream. We'll have a few coming over from the football terrace as well. But I suppose moving on to then kind of transfer activities right now. Liverpool, we've obviously discussed, and Man City, we discussed there in terms of like the incomings that they've had, probably been the two standout. What do you make of some of Arsenal, Man City, Spurs, any other people maybe that you've seen that you've been interested in?
I mean, in all honesty, I think it's been a very, very quiet window from a Premier League perspective. I was expecting a lot more to be done a lot quicker. Obviously, Arsenal have just signed Kepa Arrizabalaga. Fine. If that's your plan, absolutely no issue by that. But it's like the lower down teams. I think Brentford signing Kelleher is a really, really good. Like, that's a terrific acquisition for them. They're definitely one that's big. Brighton, they've signed 5 players already. They've not sold a single one. And you know, like the way Brighton operate in the market, they tend to smash it. In all honesty, but Chelsea signing João Felix and Liam Delap now. Not João Felix, João Pedro. Even sorry.
Yeah,
I do think they're good. I think João Pedro is a terrific sign for Chelsea in the way that Maresca operates. He's someone who's capable of playing as that false 9. He's someone who's capable of creating things for other players while also being a finisher himself. I do think that they're a team that we have to look at and think, okay, they've got options up front now. They're strengthening the areas where they are weakest. Obviously, they need to bring in a goalkeeper. But there's no one that I look at. Like, I've literally got the thing in front of me right now, and there's no team I look at and think, you're doing amazing business. Fulham haven't signed anyone. Leeds obviously come up. They've signed the Metro, which is a really good shout. We've done the best business of anyone by far. City have done really, really well in terms of Aiton Yuri and Cherky and Reinders, definitely. But, like, United have only signed Cunha. Newcastle have signed Antonio Cordero. Fine. I'm still waiting to see that big marquee sign, and I'm still waiting for another team to go out and really do something big. I know Arsenal are meant to be getting Zubamendi, but even so, that's not setting the world on fire. Like, I don't know. I feel, obviously from our perspective, I'm overjoyed with how well we've done, but there's no other team that's setting it on fire for me, and I feel a little bit underwhelmed by that, and I don't know why.
Yeah, I think the Club World Cup maybe might have. I wouldn't say hampered some teams in terms of like maybe some transfers, but maybe teams haven't been as active because of that.
Yeah.
And I think the one thing with Arsenal, they were probably the team that maybe disappointed me the most in terms of maybe not getting a striker in so far. But they seem to be weighing up whether Sesko, they want to go for Sesko or Gyökeres. And I think at this stage, you should know who you want to go for. Do you know what I mean? And you should be like, right, you're the person to take us to the next level. You're the person that's coming into this club, and we're going to like stick with you. But they're kind of like, oh, you're good. Let's get the best deal possible. And I feel like you, especially in the data-driven world of football now, they would know exactly who would fit their kind of system more. And they should be going for that player. I think the other teams around maybe that we would look at and say Spurs and United. I think Spurs sacking Ange and then just getting in Frank, and they're maybe looking at their options. So I think there was talk of Semenyo was one for 70 million. And then United with Cunha, and they're obviously trying to get Mbeumo over the line. I think United's an interesting one just because obviously the size of the club that they are. And I think Cunha will be interesting to see how he comes in. There's some talk about like his attitude and like maybe in how he left. I think he was fighting with a Wolves fan on Twitter, I'm pretty sure, like midway through the season last year.
Well, he got banned, didn't he, for getting into that fight with...
Oh, did he?
Brighton. So against Brighton,
yeah.
Oh, yeah, sorry. No, not about the fan, sorry.
Yeah, I was like, with the fan. You meant with his match.
No, I think it was Brighton. Was it Brighton that he got into that fight again? I can't... Yeah, and he got banned. Like, there's definitely issues there. I just think a lot of clubs this season, it's more about getting rid of the dead wood, more so than what can you bring in. Like, United have got rid of so many of the players that you just look at in that squad and think you're not up to this. Eriksen's gone, Lindelof's gone, Johnny Evans is gone.
Yeah.
City as well, like, they've lost De Bruyne, but Scott Carson's gone. I was going to say Liam Delap then. Jacob Wright's got, like, that. They're losing. A lot of big teams are getting rid of the people that they just know aren't going to be doing it for them going forward. And I think when, like you said, clubs come back from the World Cup, the Club World Cup, they'll have a better understanding of whereabout they are in terms of their finance. They haven't been able to. But if you're Arsenal, like you perfectly said, they've known that this is a problem for a long time. They've known they've needed a striker since. When did Havertz get injured? Like February, March?
Yeah. This
this isn't new to them.
The boy camp. Remember? And he came back.
Yeah.
They just declined it, and then they had the boy camp, and he came back and he was gone for the rest of the season.
Yeah. So they've known about it. So why have they not planned for this? Why have they got to this stage on the 1st of July and they're saying, well, we don't know if we want him or we don't know if we want him? It can't be that complex. If you know who your targets are, if you know who's going to fit your system. Like, look at us, for example. We knew we needed a right back long ago. We got straight into Jeremy Frimpong. We've known we've needed a left back for 6, 7, 8 months now. Straight on Kirkes. We need creativity in midfield. Florian Wirtz. There's no hesitation from us. Same with City. They know the areas they've needed strengthening. They've done that. Arsenal have known about the striker issue for a year, you could argue.
Yeah.
And they're still in this position where they're and ahhing about who they want. It's not good enough.
Yeah. My what I was on a show there yesterday, and I was talking about the fact that when Liverpool were kind of up and coming with Klopp, and they were like looking around for different players that they feel could elevate them to the next level, and defensively we weren't good enough. So the player that we went out and signed was Van Dijk. So the criticism that came with that was like 75 million you're spending on Van Dijk. That is absolutely not worth it. What are you doing? And you look at it now and you say what we went on to achieve with him. Obviously, we signed Alisson as well, but like we identified 2 players that could take us to the next level, and we went out and spent whatever money it was on them because that's what it felt how close we were to getting there. Do you know what I mean? I feel like Arsenal are at that level now, like just before they're about to get to that, and they need to sign that player. They need to know that you are the player to take us to the next level, and the fact that they haven't, that would worry me if I was an Arsenal fan. But yeah, it'll be interesting. I think Chelsea, like you touched on there as well, Chelsea will be interesting because I think Delap will bring something new to the squad. Will Palmer be as good that he has been in, like, say, the 18 months leading up to the last 6 months, where he's obviously maybe taking a little bit of a turn? I think defensively, you can still get at them a little bit. And then keeper-wise, they need to get someone in to replace Sanchez because he's not going to win your league if you have him in the team.
No, Chelsea are... It still feels like they're trying to sign for the future.
Yeah.
And I understand that's the way their ownership wants to operate. And to be fair, based on the players they've sold who they signed for cheap, they've definitely made money off it. But other than João Pedro, there's no one that they're really bringing in who you look at and think you're going to make an immediate impact. Like Estevio Willian, Dario Asugo, Liam Delap's a great player. He'll definitely add another dimension. I think he'll be their sort of... And this is just a crude comparison because it's Liverpool. It's the only one I can really think of at the moment. It's like when we used to bring on Divock Origi in place of Firmino. Obviously, Delap's probably a better player, but he gives you that different dimension. He's better in the air than a João Pedro will be. He's a bit more direct. He's a bit more physically robust. You need those different options of players. Chelsea at the moment, it just still feels like they don't know what they want to do. And it's another summer window where they're going out and spending 150 million plus to try and fix issues in the squad when they still need a goalkeeper. They do need centre-backs. Probably another right-back, given the fact that their only real fit one most of the time is Malo Gusto, and Reece James is broken like a Kit Kat half the time. There's other areas they need to be strengthening. And I think signing 2 strikers, while they're good strikers... There's other parts of the pitch you need to be looking at, and I'm not looking at this window and thinking, oh, you've smashed this. I was more nervous in the window where they signed Havertz and Timo Werner and Thiago Silva and stuff like that than I am looking at them thinking, you've just signed a relegated Liam Delap, you've just signed a João Pedro who you faced very little competition in signing, so clearly there wasn't a high demand, and some more youngsters. So it's not a bad window, but it's not to the standard that's going to win you a Premier League. Yeah,
like I feel, say if you look at their midfield, or sorry, their forward line now, it'd probably be Palmer, Delap, and say Gittins comes in. But is it that much different to say Palmer, Jackson, and I don't know, Sancho or Pedro Neto? Do you know what I mean? I just think it's kind of very similar. They haven't bought anyone to take them to that next level. I know we were talking about Osimhen for Liverpool, but I just feel like he would be someone that would elevate them in terms of like a striker that would take them to the next level. And if I look at them now, I think you're probably gonna be a little bit better. Maybe Enzo Maresca has another year with them, and he brings in the players that they come in and they do a little bit better. But are they going to be challenging for a league? I don't think so. I think it's probably going to be the same as fourth, fifth again, and they'll just kind of be touching on. Maybe it won't be down to the very last game of the season, but they'll feel a little bit more comfortable in terms of getting it over the line. But yeah, it is interesting just why some teams are obviously a little bit slower in the market. I think Liverpool have just. I think the fact that Liverpool have been so quick in the market probably worries a lot of other people, and people are getting a little bit worked up the fact that they've been so quick, but they've probably been unnaturally quick in a sense as well. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll just take a comment. So Bonkers LFC. So Nottingham Forest have agreed a deal with Olympiacos for Malik Fofana, but no agreement yet on the player side. Fofana waiting for a Champions League clubs.
I wanted Fofana so badly.
Yeah, so Liverpool have been reported in discussions with his agent from Fabrizio Romano. Thank you, Bonkers LFC. I actually haven't seen too much of Fofana, but yeah, I've heard a lot about him from people talking about him.
I did a show the other day and someone was asking, what type of player is he? If you're looking for a winger who's like a passer of the ball, someone who's like really, really good on it, in terms of what he can create, he's not your type of player. But if you're looking for someone who can pick it up and just beat a man and run with it and put himself into dangerous positions, he's like when we first signed Sadio Mane, where his main responsibility wasn't get the ball and create or do something with it before Salah came in. This was like the 16-17 season when he was on his own, essentially. His job was you get the ball, you run into space and you make things happen. That's what Fofana is. And I think he ranks in the top, I might be butchering this, but he's the top 6% of all European wingers for progressive carries, the top 3% for successful take-ons, and I think it's like the top 6% for carries into the penalty area. Like, he's such an aggressive style winger. It's like if Luis Diaz ate Luis Diaz. He's just proper get at defenders and make things happen. And he's someone very young. He's got plenty of room to work with. His finishing's not quite there yet. He does rank fairly low in his shooting metrics, but he's someone who can definitely develop and turn into a sort of... I think if he got a bit more comfortable on the ball, he could definitely be someone who we'd love to have as a different option going forward.
Yeah, I think the Diaz rumours of him, obviously Bayern are potentially interested in him. There was obviously talks of Saudi as the start of the window. They don't seem to be going away. I think the discussions with Liverpool might have broken down a little bit. Like, I think he's only on 55k a week or something. He's still on a really low contract. And
ludicrous.
Yeah, it's just for someone who I think was probably up there with... I'd say, our third best forward last year. I'd probably have Gakpo just ahead of him by a small margin. But the fact that he was playing through the middle because he could and Gakpo couldn't... because we've seen Gakpo up front, he couldn't really play through the middle. He was much better off the left. Diaz kind of sacrificed himself on that point, and he was very helpful when Núñez and Jota just weren't cutting it. So to bring in someone maybe of Fofana's quality, like you're saying there, and have someone come in maybe to be mould, and you could have Gakpo on the left and kind of get someone in to maybe learn from him, Salah, what it takes to be a world-class winger at say Liverpool, then that would be interesting. I think with Diaz as well, the age he's at now, 28, 29, you could be looking at a decent amount for him that you can obviously reinvest back into the squad. And Liverpool, obviously, this season, for whatever reason, aren't afraid of reinvesting their money again. So, yeah, it'd be interesting to see where that goes. What do you think of Diaz? Do you think like Liverpool should sell him or keep him? It seems to be a hot topic at the minute.
I think if we're in a position where we can keep hold of him and Gakpo, don't sell. We've proven this summer that money's no object, essentially. And there's other players in that team, and just that front line alone who you can sell to get money. Núñez being one, Jota potentially being another, Chiesa's probably on a move away. Diaz and Gakpo have made it... They've made it clear that they want to stay, but they're not making any noise. They're not making any rumblings that a move is on the cards. And you've got two of the best left wingers in the Premier League, two of the best left wingers in Europe, arguably, in your ranks. I don't think it's something that you need to necessarily do unless a huge offer comes in and it's just Diaz wants to leave, which he doesn't seem to have any indication of. My only thing with Diaz, like you said, you can get probably your most money for him now. I don't see him getting any better next season. He probably will dip a bit.
Yeah.
He comes up in purple patches. Now, towards the end of the season, he was superb. He came up in really big moments. I've got stats in front of me. In the last 8 games in the Premier League, he contributed to 4 goals. That was Fulham, West Ham, Tottenham, and Arsenal. He also, in the 3 matches before that first goal against Fulham, he got 3 assists in a row: Everton, Southampton, Newcastle. He only got 1 goal and 1 assist in the previous 10 matches before that, and then before that, they were all scattered around. And if you're Liverpool right now, are we going to be as reliant on someone who's going to play well for 5 or 6 matches and then disappear for the next 10? Can we be having that kind of player in the squad? Like, does it not make a bit more sense to maybe bring someone in who's a bit younger, who can develop into a first team? I don't know, but I wouldn't be going out of my way to sell either one of them. But if it does come in and Diaz does leave, I don't think I'd be as heartbroken as I would have been as when, say, Mane left, for example.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think with Diaz, I would probably say you might get another like kind of same level this season, but he does play a lot in purple patches, and I think if you were to get 60 million for him, say, let's say that's fair market value for someone who's 2 years left in his contract, probably go to Bayern Munich and be like in and amongst the squad, if not a starter. They obviously have a lot of quality going forward, but I just feel like with Diaz, you're always kind of wishing there was just a little bit more. Like you feel like there's always kind of on the brink of just being a world class footballer, but for whatever reason, it doesn't kind of materialize, or maybe his finishing lets him down, or it's just, as you said, his form dips a little bit. Like I think Gakpo is probably a little bit more consistent in terms of what you're kind of getting from him. And I think he's obviously, he has that kind of knack of scoring in big games. So you can think about last season when we came out to one of our biggest weeks of the season. I mean, he scores against Man City and Real Madrid at home, and we win both of those games. And I mean, the momentum that carries through. Now, I know Diaz obviously scored some big goals as well, but I just think Gakpo is kind of a little bit more consistent, which is what you want. But yeah, I think you do want to keep both of them. The one worry I have with a lot of transfers in one transfer window is like you're asking a lot of these new players coming in to kind of be up and running straight away. So say if you sell Nunes, Isak comes in, hit the ground running. Kirkez, I know Robertson is obviously talks of him staying now, so which is good because I think it gives a little bit more freedom to Kirkez to come in and settle. Yeah. But if Robertson was to go and Kirkez was to come in, you're saying you're starting straight away. Frimpong is obviously going to maybe be the first choice right back or battling it out with Bradley. There's a lot of changes around like kind of really big parts of the team that have been consistently big parts of the team for nearly the good part of a decade. And I think that is something that you have to be a little bit careful with, because if you do, you could disrupt a lot of the good flow that has gone on. And I haven't even mentioned Wirtz there, obviously coming in to switch things up a lot in midfield. So yeah, I think that is a worry. But what do you think in terms of too many transfers coming in?
I think Chelsea is the best example of it in recent years, where you change up the whole squad, it doesn't click, and you end up having a gap year trying to figure everything out. Now, Liverpool have proven in the past that when we make big changes and we bring in a lot of different players, it can go one of two ways. We can either have a season like we did last year, Szoboszlai, McAllister, Gravenberch, not this season, just gone, the one before, Szoboszlai, McAllister, Gravenberch all come in, big changes, Endo as well. It gels for a long period of time, it teeters off towards the end. Or you can go back to 2010. We lost Mascherano. We'd lost Alonso. We'd lost Torres. Like, we'd lost a lot of our big name players. We had to bring in a lot of people. We brought in the likes of Joe Cole and Charlie Adam and Jay Spearing and all these lads. And it didn't click. It didn't work. It's about, who you bring in, if they're of top quality, which Liverpool have proven that we can definitely do this summer. And it's how you maintain the squad around them. I completely agree with the Andrew Robertson argument. I got so much stick for saying that I think we'd be foolish to sell him. Yeah. If you want someone who's able to integrate your new signing into this squad, the man who's won every trophy for us the past 10 years, apart from the Europa League, who's been a key component of this team, bar maybe the last year or two, you want someone there to integrate him in. Andrew Robertson's one of the best there is. You're looking at these big changes at centre-back with Konate potentially going and Quanta already leaving and Gomez being injured. If Guehi's coming in, there's no better player to learn off of. You need these big leaders to keep the squad together. When it was 2014-15, we brought in a lot of changes. Gerrard was there, Henderson was there. A lot of the lads didn't work out, but you need those big names to stand up and lead the dressing room and show everyone this is how we play, this is Liverpool, this is who we are. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but I just think flipping the whole squad 180 and getting rid of all your big, not big name players, but your big characters and your big personalities, it can have a detrimental effect. You've got to use the past to further develop the future. And that's why I was gutted when someone like James Milner left, for example. Looking back, he left at the right time, but I would have loved to have kept them that extra year and help integrate everyone into that team. You need those people.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think the Milner thing was probably more, he just probably a little bit fed up, maybe wanted to get a few more matches in. I think he's probably pretty close to breaking the record. I think he's only 20 off for like most appearances in the Premier League. Yeah. But no, I think there's a lot to be said about keeping experience. It's more like, even if you look at Liverpool this season, Salah and Van Dijk, people would say without them you don't win the league. But like you're talking about two of the best players in Premier League the last 10 years. Robertson, probably the best left back in Liverpool's Premier League era. He'd probably have a shout for like Liverpool's history. And then you have Trent on the other side, who's been one of the most creative right backs in the Premier League's history as well. Like, you have a lot of players who have, and they've been there before. Do you know what I mean? They've won it. So like, Trent obviously went for whatever, like his own reasons. But if you let Robertson go, and then you're kind of saying, right, Salah and Van Dijk, you are the leaders now, and we want you to kind of lead this team. I think that would be silly, and I don't think it's not what teams that have been successful in the past have done. They haven't ripped out a team that's won a league and then started anew with loads of new players. Like, you think of Man United when they were kind of at their pump, and Ferguson would he'd go out and buy one or two of the best players in the league, add to the squad, and then they would go on and continue to obviously be very successful. So I think that's what, there's obviously maybe some added changes that Liverpool have been forced to make, like with the Frimpong signing, but I think right now I would be happy with the squad that we have if we went out and brought in a striker, say the Núñez and striker situation. You bring in four kind of big players, like even the Kelleher Marmadashvili, like that swap will be interesting because Kelleher has come in and been a big part player for Liverpool when he's been injured. So I think those four signings as big major signings. You have obviously the outgoings of Trent and say Núñez, and then Kwanzaa, the money you got for him, and I think I would be happy with that as well. But maybe five actually with Guehi, but I think that would be probably the best way to do it.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's important that we bring in quality. It's important that we bring in a decent number of players for rotation, because I think next summer or next season even is going to be more so about going for all of it, more so than prioritising the Premier League. And I want to see us push in all the competitions. I know winning all four is just unlikely, but we're going to need a good number of players to come in if we want to try and push for more than just the one title next season.
Yeah.
Don't go out and change the whole squad, but you need... That's why City have been so dominant for the past few years, because if you took that starting 11 and flipped it with whoever was the backup, it'd be like a seamless transition, bar maybe De Bruyne and Haaland and a couple others.
Yeah,
you need those players who can come in and hit the ground running, not young lads who can maybe one day be up there, not players who are maybe going to be ready in a year or two. You need ready-made people now, and I completely agree with what you just said then.
Yeah, I think it kind of brings us on to our next topic, but in terms of who you think would be the challengers next season, how Liverpool are going to do, and kind of maybe you would do like top five, but let me know let us know in the comment section as well. Where do you think Liverpool, Man City, Arsenal finish? But I'll let you go first, Lewis. What are your thoughts in terms of the maybe top five for next season?
Right. Okay. Well, we're number one. That's not even up for debate. 21's coming home. If it's based on who the squads have got right now, I'd be saying City second. Because I do think the Pep effect will sort of kick in again like it usually does, but it won't be to the same extent. They've signed very well. I think they'll definitely be pushing again, but they'll probably teeter off. I think next season we see a bit of a decline in Arsenal. Zubamendi's a good signing, but they still need other players. If it was right now, I'd be saying Arsenal third. Fourth place, I kind of want to say Newcastle, but I don't know if I'm sort of being blinded by how well they did last season.
Yeah.
That's the only problem. It's so difficult to say at the early stage. Okay, I'll say Liverpool, City, Arsenal, Newcastle, and then in fifth, it's a big shout, but I think Tottenham will definitely be in a bit of a stronger position, because the big issue with Tottenham was just Ange's play style. They gave up goals for fun. I think with a bit more of a pragmatist in that team, with someone who's got a bit more of a defensive-minded structure, you get the right players in. I think Tottenham could definitely be pushing for that top 6 spot, so I'll destroy my reputation before it's even been built. I'll say Tottenham 5th, Chelsea probably 6th or something like that.
So I'll get someone to clip that up later and we'll send it over to you. So have it ready for at the end of next season. I agree with you there on Spurs. I think Thomas Frank coming in, top 5. I think there's a lot of work he has to do with that team. I think there's obviously talk of Romero potentially leaving as well. So he's been a big player for them.
Yeah,
him and Van de Ven, when they've been fit, have been good. I think Son is potentially, like we've seen it this season, he's gone more or less, and there is talk of maybe going to, like, say, Saudi or something. But I think Thomas Frank, the quality he has as a manager, could definitely do something. But top 5 for me would probably be Liverpool first, second. I do. You know what? I think it might be an easy win for Liverpool next. But I do think Man City, even though I was giving them a little bit of criticism at the start of the stream, I do think Man City will finish second, but I just don't think they'll be able to go toe-to-toe with this Liverpool team and the depth they have right now, and the experience that they obviously have. So I think Man City second. I think if Arsenal start slow, I think that'll turn toxic very quickly, and I think they could maybe lose patience with Arteta, or say if Sesko or Gyökeres comes in, they don't hit the ground running, they drop a few points, because they do have a relatively okay start, maybe somewhere in the middle, but if they don't have a good start, then I think they could be in a bit of bother. So I put them third.
They've got a hard 5 matches to begin with as well.
Yeah,
I think it's like Newcastle, us, City,
United,
Newcastle, us, City, United. Yeah, like it's a really hard one.
United away in the first game of the season, I think it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then they to come to, or are we to go to them, I think, on the third game, is it?
They come to us.
Oh, they come to us. All right.
Yeah.
So I think that, like, if they have a little bit of a bad start, then we could see maybe not the wheels fall off, but I just think there's going to be a lot of pressure on Arteta to kind of to start well and to be in the mix, because I think if they're not in the mix for the Premier League, like with the Champions League, and we've seen it this season, it puts so much pressure on them in every single game that they play in the Champions League, because they were gone from the Premier League. But I think if you're in a Premier League title race, you're kind of going every weekend, you have like a little bit of optimism. Now, that obviously brings pressure, but it's not like a Champions League where you lose one game, you're gone. Do you know what I mean? Whereas, like, if they drop points or draw in a Premier League game, or maybe lose one game, it's not the end of the world. They're still thereabouts.
Yeah.
But I put them third. Fourth. Yeah, I think I said Chelsea. I think they'll get 4th this season. I think the Lap will come in. I think I think he'll elevate himself playing in a team with better team, getting a lot more chances than he was at Ipswich. I think he was probably outperforming like what was expected of him at Ipswich, and I think in a team that do create a lot of chances, and Chelsea are one of the highest chance creators in the league. I think he'll get a lot of opportunities and he'll get a lot of goals. So I think that would be good, but just not enough to win it. And then fifth is up for debate. I think, you know what? I think Aston Villa might give it a good go again. I think they obviously hampered a little bit this season with not being able to sign too many players. I know they obviously sold their women's team yesterday and they're 5 for PSR. But I think with Unai, he's still a very, very good manager, and he knows how to get a lot out of the team. I think Newcastle, like, say, they're struggling maybe to get some good quality players in. If they lose an Isak, and the fact that they're playing in Champions League, that might hamper them a little bit. I think that's the issue that a lot of these teams that are trying to get into the Champions League now have, is that, like, they get into the Champions League, which is great, and they get the revenue from it, but then it's like, oh, we need to compete in the Champions League. We need to compete in the Premier League. We need to compete in the FA Cup, and it takes a lot out of them. And I think we've seen that this season with Villa. We've seen it the season before with Newcastle. So I think it might be like that kind of yo-yo effect again, where Villa just get it a little bit because of the fact that they may be able to do that. But I think, did they finish in the Conference League? Did they in the end? Or the Europa League?
They finished 6th. They're in the Europa League.
Oh, yeah, the Europa League. So, in fairness, that might help them a little bit because obviously it can maybe rotate the team a little bit, but they're probably playing every Sunday. Yeah. But yeah, it'll be interesting. But I think, as you said, Liverpool are probably the team to beat. And I think everyone's a little bit worried about it all at the minute.
Honestly, 21 is. I've never felt so confident going into a league season. Like even after we won the league last time, this is the most confident I've been going into a league season.
I'd say the United fans are already sweating because it's like Dave. You have the Premier League, and I think the Champions League, especially with Salah and Dijk, I feel like they're like, we can give that one more go, and kind of 2 Champions League, 2 Premier Leagues, that would be huge for them.
Yeah.
So I think it'll be interesting. But that's it for today. Just over an hour. I'd like to say a massive thank you to Lewis for coming on. Lewis, you want to give a shout out to your channels, whatever? Sure, go ahead.
I mean, I'm awful at doing this, but first off, thank you for having me on. It's, like, honestly, that was a blast. It's Beyond the Cop. If anyone wants to watch it, it's me rambling, top 10s mainly, history of Liverpool, stuff like that. I mean, I hate bigging myself up. I'm so awful at doing it, man. But yeah, please subscribe.
Well, if you won't big yourself up, I will. Lads, go give him a follow. He's very good. Very good content. I enjoy watching him. He's a very good speaker. Definitely have him on again. But yeah, if you enjoyed the content, make sure to drop a like, subscribe to the channel, and yeah, we shall see you all on the next one. Cheers, guys.